Well, you know what that little ditty means. It's time for Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on EWTN Radio. I'm Jerry Usher along with Debbie Georgiani and you, and we say it all the time and we truly mean it. Hope it comes through on the broadcast. You are the one who drives the program. You are the key person in making this show what it is each and every day, and we know that you're going to have a lot to say about today's topic. The show team is in place. I'm not exactly sure who we have on the phones today. Maybe Michael Birchfield can tell me that. Michael is our producer. Jeff Burson is on social media, and it might be Michael McCall on the phones. But in either case, call up, let Michael hear your voice, then he'll put you through. We'll put you on the air, and we will have a wonderful conversation. Debbie, good happy Wednesday to you. This week is going by fast.
It is. It truly is. And today is the feast day of the story, folks.
We are you? What I mean by that is, well, I wanted to start by reading the account from Luke chapter 10.
Please.
And I know that you have heard this before, starting with verse 38. Now, as they went on their way, Jesus entered a village, and a woman named Martha received him into her house. And she had a sister called Mary, who sat at the Lord's feet and listened to his teaching. But Martha was distracted with much serving, and she went to him and said, Lord, do you not care that my sister has left me to serve alone? Tell her then to help me. But the Lord answered her, Martha, Martha, you are anxious and troubled about many things. One thing is needful. Mary has chosen the good portion, which shall not be taken away from her. And some translations say she has chosen the better part, which, of course, Debbie, means it's not the only good part. It's perhaps the better part. But we also need to be like Martha in many ways in our lives.
That just cracks me up, that account, because it must show how close Mary and Martha were to Jesus. For Martha to say, tell her to help me, not could you please ask her to help? Tell her. That's a command, and it's very interesting so they must have been super, super close, which I just love that. I really do. But yeah, going back to what that means for us. To the better part. I like how you exchange that word, and it's true, Jerry, because I've heard that as well, and it's really an interesting thing because I think it goes back to how we talk with all of our Take Two family about having to fill yourself up first, right? And you give from your excess, in a sense, not necessarily from your reserves, because that'll just really that'll really drain you to the point where you could crumble, and then you're not of service to anyone. You're not of good to anyone, especially to yourself. And so there's an interesting concept about that, and it's a healthy balance. Some people think that's selfish. No, you should give until you drop. But no, there's a lot of folks out there, a lot of priests, very good holy priests that say, no, you better think about that twice. You have to have some self-care, and in that self-care comes a spiritual filling, if you will. What do you think about that, Jerry?
Well, absolutely, and I like the way you said from your excess, and all of us do have a lot to give to others, and especially during this time of the pandemic. So our question for you today is, have you been Martha to others? Have you served others? Maybe just recently you've gotten involved in helping to feed people or distribute food or care for those who are being impacted by the coronavirus. Maybe serving others is nothing new to you at all. Maybe you have been doing it for many, many years. We'd love to hear your experiences because it's so important. There are a lot of people, Debbie, I think, who wonder, what can I do to be more involved? What kinds of things, activities can I do, outreaches and so forth? So, dear Take Two family, what you call and share today is going to be vitally important, as it always is. So if you're involved in service to other people, please call. You're not bragging. What you're doing is you're giving other people ideas as to how they can do it. And so your number is 833-288-EWTN, 833-288-3986.
Okay, Jerry, I love the Take Two family. They are so on top of things. So I'm getting text messages, and this is what it says. How come I can't see you on Skype or Facebook? Okay, full disclosure, I hurt my back last night. Marty and I were giving Gracie a bath because, as I shared with everybody, she has an eye infection, and now it's passing on to, my eyes are hurting, and Marty's eyes are itching as well. And so we gave her a bath, and I pulled my back out. I'm a mess, but maybe this was so. Look at the timing of this. Another one of our listeners called this morning and said, "Can you talk this morning?" And I shared with them what's happening to me. And she said to me, this was her advice. Actually, it was a directive. She said, "It's time to pamper yourself." And you know what? She's right. After this show, I think I'm going to put some more ice on my back and lay down and not worry about things. But see, isn't that true, Jerry? See, isn't how there's no coincidence to this, right? It's Martha, St. Martha, feast day today. And you talk about people who are generally givers. They tend to give all the time. What happens? Sometimes, they suffer in the process, right?
Well, yes, indeed. And for those of you who are listening, what about you? Are you more of a giver? Are you more like Martha? That's what we're asking you right now on this great, beautiful feast of St. Martha. Hey, she's a saint, so she didn't do anything wrong. Let's face it, this is not an either or, it's a both and. The world always needs people with Martha's spirit, and that is in no way means that they aren't compatible like Mary. And doing Christ-like deeds for others, for other people, it could actually look a lot different today than at other times because of the pandemic. So please, Debbie needs your consoling today. Call up at 833-288-3986 with your take, and let Debbie know you're praying for her as well, as we all are, Deb.
Yeah, mostly Gracie too, and our eyes. It's hard when you can't when you can't focus in. It's very difficult. Okay, we need to hear from you, folks. Come on, don't be entertained by our banter back and forth. We want to hear from you. Be the teachers here. 833-288-3986. This is Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on the Feast of St. Martha. We're talking about, are you like Martha? Let's talk about it. We want to hear from you. Call in, will you?
He was a pope, a saint, and a doctor of the church.
Matthew Bunson and the Doctors of the Church.
Pope St. Gregory I the Great is one of only 4 popes honored as the Great. Among his many achievements was sending missionaries across Northern Europe, especially St. Augustine of Canterbury, who brought Christ to the people of England. In a pun, Pope Gregory called the English people angels. He died in 604.
For more about the Doctors of the Church, visit doctorsofthechurch.com.
In these uncertain times, Catholics depend on EWTN's National Catholic Register. The Register is so much more than a newspaper. It's your faith, your life, your source of information and spiritual resources. The Register is uplifting, redemptive journalism, interviews with Catholic leaders and newsmakers, liturgical coverage, health, financial, and political topics, and analysis of the key issues you care most about. EWTN's National Catholic Register covers every aspect of the Catholic faith that impacts your world. To get 6 free issues, order online at ncregister.com/radio or call 800-421-3230 and mention code radio. That's ncregister.com/radio or call 800-421-3230 and mention code radio. The National Catholic Register. Read faithfully.
Do you have a servant's heart? That's what we're asking today. And again, it's not, hey, everybody, look at me, look at all these great things I do. But we want to talk about how important it is for all of us to be servants to other people and really the benefits that we get out of that as well. So if you are a volunteer of any kind, maybe a food pantry, a homeless shelter, maybe you've helped to distribute food during the COVID-19 pandemic, talk and share about that because it's a feast of St. Martha. And Martha was the active one in that account in the Bible where Mary was sitting at the feet of Jesus. But I really believe, and I'd love you to talk about this, how your acts of charity flow from and really are founded upon your life of quiet prayer. So here's our phone number, 833-288-3986, 833-288-3986. Just want to draw your attention quickly to another EWTN program, Conversations with Consequences. That's Saturday afternoon at 5 Eastern Time on EWTN Radio. Dr. Gracie Christie and her team offer witty and charming conversations with the leading thinkers of our time about the topics that matter to an educated and well-formed Catholic audience. That's Conversations with Consequences, Saturdays at 5 Eastern Time on most of these same EWTN stations.
So we really need to, we really need to hear from you. Please call in. Don't wait till the end of the broadcast. We need to hear from you. 833-288-3986. And Tracy's going to be first, but hold on, Tracy, for just a second. I want to share this real quickly. I think this could help folks determine if they're Martha or Mary. There's a life skills exercise that's done where, and let me just share this real quickly. When you do an exercise, at the end of the exercise, there's a debriefing. And what happens in that is you learn a lot about yourself and those around you. Anyway, there's an exercise that's done that you don't really know the outcome until you finish the whole entire program. But there's an exercise that's done with popsicle sticks where they give you so many popsicle sticks and you have to go around a circle and you have to make eye contact for a minute with each person. And if you feel moved, you give over one of your popsicle sticks or you keep it and you move on to the next person. And there's 50 people in the room and you're going around in a circle. By the time you're done, when you're doing the debriefing, you disclose how many popsicle sticks you have left. And those that didn't have any left, the instructor shared with them that why didn't they keep one for themselves? And it's not a selfish thing. It was that you gave away everything. So basically, you gave away everything and there was absolutely nothing left. You basically died, right? So that's in the exercise. Okay. This is what it's now. This is an exercise. It's a scenario set up for a teaching purpose, but it was very interesting because and then those that kept all of their popsicle sticks, obviously on the flip side of that, the instructor shared with them how, why didn't you feel moved to do anything for anyone else? Wasn't there anything inside of you that made you, give up, something a little bit, of yourself in service to help that other person. Anyway, it was very interesting. But you're not going to ask me, Jerry, so I'll just share with you. I ended up with no popsicle sticks, and I actually I wasn't yelled at by the instructor, but I was told very strongly that that's a dangerous practice. Isn't that interesting?
Mm-hmm. It is.
And because I was so moved by if I had 50 popsicle sticks, I would have given all 50 out, So I had to learn. To be more like Mary. And I'll tell you what, when I really work at that, I'm a much better person. I'm a much more well-rounded person. What do you think about that, Jerry?
I think the exercise is brilliant, actually. I'd never heard about that before. But it reminds me again, going back to the being on the airplane, before takeoff, they give you the spiel and tell you to put your own oxygen mask on first. So there is something to be said about, getting quiet and calm and taking care of yourself and being prayerful and contemplative. So I hope that you took that to heart and will practice that today.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Practice it today, especially. You're right. And I probably, those of you who are other life coaches, you probably are thinking, why did she just give away this exercise? This is a great exercise. You're not supposed to know the ending of it. Most people are not going to be able to go through these trainings right now because of COVID and everything. So if it can benefit somebody today, I truly feel it's worth it. Okay. Because we're in a time right now where everybody, I think, needs that help right at the moment when they're ready. So please forgive me to other life coaches if you feel that I disclosed the outcome of an exercise when I probably shouldn't have. Okay, Tracy in Bowling Green, Ohio, listening on Sirius XM 130. Hi, Tracy. Welcome.
Hi there.
Hello. How are you? Just fine. Yeah, just fine.
Hi, I'm doing fine.
Good.
I just heard your thing about being Saint Martha, and I am often called a Martha. And I'm very busy. I get up in the morning and I tackle things constantly. I own businesses and I volunteer. I'm a Sunday school teacher and Cub Scouts and all this. And I find that when I'm so busy like that, I'm often, when people talk to me and remind me that I'm a Martha, it's because I can't sit down and talk to people. Unless it's so busy, business related, I guess, to accomplish something. And a lot of people will I'm such a good listener when I do sit down and listen, and I enjoy people, and I enjoy people that are joyful and everything. I just am drawn to them because they can sit there and talk, and they just bring me out of the Martha of focusing on things to do.
Okay, well, Tracy, thanks for your call. And you sound, you do sound like a busy person. And, all of that is fantastic. It's neither either or both end, like we were saying before. And, I think that sitting and that listening is so very, very important. Like in that story in the Bible, Mary was sitting and she was, listening to Jesus teach at the feet of Jesus. And we can do that by taking prayer time and sitting at the feet of Jesus ourselves, or we can do that with other human beings. And so I think you're touching on some important things, and I'm probably a lot like you, probably more like you than I am than Mary. What do you think, Debbie?
Oh, yeah, I completely agree. But I got a couple questions for you, Tracy. When you find yourself being like Martha, does it feel energizing to you, or does it feel draining? And then flip that to the Mary side as well. Maybe answer the same question for both.
I enjoy organizing and doing things like that. There's no doubt I enjoy doing what I do, any of my work and stuff like that. And like, let's say we're at a church event, and I am focused on, getting stuff done and everything. I have to make myself not volunteer so that I can have that moment of just enjoying where I'm at, because I'm too focused. I cannot stop and enjoy things, because I'm so focused sometimes on getting my stuff done. And that could be at my house too, just as a mother of 7, I'm doing work around the house and keeping up. And I like, if at some points where I am running from one thing to another,
right,
for a business, I will grab a child and they would be with me just so they can talk nonstop while I drive, things like that. But I always, I have that conflict because I know that, Martha and Mary, the story, Martha had to get things done. And I so understand Martha's viewpoint of, well, I have to make sure things are done for everybody. And I often wonder, what if she never did anything? Would everything have fallen apart at that moment because no one was served? Things like that.
Right.
I have to wonder. But
well, Tracy,
I have to do that.
Yeah, Tracy, did you say you're a mother of 7?
Yes, I have
Wow.
7 children.
Wow.
I only have 3 that are homeschooled right now, and the rest are off to colleges and married.
Beautiful. What a beautiful big family. I love it. Blessings, I'm sure, are going all the way around for your family. But Tracy, I want to ask you a quick question. Do you have difficulty receiving? When somebody does something really wonderful for you, do you feel, is there that little twinge of an uncomfortable feeling?
I think there is times, yeah, and it's usually because I'm more of a giver, and there's some people that they give too, and I feel bad because they're giving, and I feel like I'm not giving as much back.
Oh, okay, I see what you're saying.
I think the types of things I give is I do things for, I'll do things. I'm not I don't go buy something like that. And then there's other people that give gifts. And when they give gifts, I'm like, I'd rather be doing something, than giving a gift. That's
Right. The reason why I ask this, and Jerry, you know where I'm going with this, a lot of times we as especially Catholic Christians, we're kind of trained for this, if you will. We feel uncomfortable receiving. Somehow it's something we don't think that we should be entertaining at a full level. So we should be giving, and then if we do receive back, that's great. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
Yeah. Especially, it's especially if they do things for me. That's when I have a difficulty.
Right.
Is when they do things for me.
Okay, but hold on a second. Let me just share this because this isn't right. This is interesting, Tracy, and there's no accident you called in. This may be your fortunate day here, because when we deny the other person their opportunity to show their Martha, right? Because we feel uncomfortable, and it's nothing really conscious. It's nothing really conscious. It is something that happens just naturally, that we just feel like, oh, I shouldn't be receiving this. I got to be giving, but we don't allow them to fully reveal their acts of charity, their acts of, their complete in service of others. It's a beautiful thing. I often tell people we need to practice receiving. Because there's a lot of us that we can give. Look at GoFundMe accounts. It always cracks me up. We ask for money for things, and so many people pass it by. And then there's a GoFundMe account for something, and especially like funeral expenses or something like that. And everybody comes out and gives, right? And because they were moved by it. But we also have to practice this idea of receiving well. And I would just encourage you. I'm in the same place you are, Tracy. Exact same place. I need to practice receiving well. I don't receive well. I can give well. I don't receive well.
I usually brush it off. I don't know if you do that, but I'll brush it. Like if they say, "Oh, can I pick this up for you or doing something?" I go, "No, I'm fine. I got it." And that's my usually response, because I don't want to put them out in any way. But yeah.
Right, but we deny them their opportunity to grow. So I've got to work on. I'll work on it if you work on it, Tracy. What do you think?
I think we all need to work on it.
Okay, we'll do that together.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, sounds good.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
Well, Tracy, beautiful call. I mean, your generosity in raising 7 children, it just sounds like it just naturally flows and translates into all of this beautiful volunteer work that you're doing. So thank you for being such a generous individual, and sounds like you got a beautiful family. You'll all be in our prayers.
So much. I appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. Yeah, well, we started off, Debbie, with that parable, not the parable, but the story about Martha and Mary, and Martha, kind of complaining to Jesus, and this distinction between doing, serving versus sitting and listening to Jesus teach at his feet. And in the book of Acts, we read, that Jesus himself said, "It is more blessed to give than to receive." That's a reference back to Jesus' ministry in Acts, I think, 20:35. So I think that highlights your point. It is, Jesus said it's better to give than to receive, but receiving is also important. It's similar to the way that, he said that Mary had chosen the better part, but Martha's part wasn't a bad part. You see what I mean? So we need to look at both of these. And I'm glad you brought that up, because it's very uncomfortable for many people, myself included, to have people do things for me. I think I should be doing for other people. But, when people are serving me, and a lot of us, you said that you even experienced that. So
all the time. Yeah. I remember going to like baby showers or wedding showers, and you know how there's always a person next to the bride or the bride-to-be, or the person who's pregnant, and there's a person next to them, marking down what they got as gifts. You ever see that, where somebody's saying, "Oh, this came from Sally, this came from," and they're marking it down. I remember being at one of these showers, and nobody had a pen and paper, and nobody was writing it down. And so I jumped up and I said, I'll do it, because I have a purse that has everything in it, and I had pen and paper. And I remember the mother coming up to me afterwards and said, "That was really my place to do." And I was like, "Oh, okay." And now she didn't say anything. She was busy doing something else, but I didn't realize that. I didn't, I just did it because I was trying to help. And there's nothing wrong with that. But I mean, you see how some people really, really want to do certain things. And, sometimes in our good nature, we jump to do it, and we don't allow other people that opportunity. I think I'm speaking for myself. That's me. I'm a doer.
Well, yeah, and conversely, the flip side of that is, when you want to do something for somebody, you're not doing it just to get blessings and graces from God. I think we know that God will bless us for our generosity, so that shouldn't be our primary purpose for doing things for others. But a lot of times, when people will not let me do things for them, I sometimes want to scratch my head and say, "Wait a minute, you're not letting me do this. There are some graces in this for me too.
Exactly. Exactly.
Yeah.
Yep. Good point, Jerry. This is a good discussion. I'm learning and growing. Are you?
I am. We're going to learn more from Nermeen and Joanne and Missy. And we've got a phone line open on Take 2 with Jerry and Debbie talking about Martha and serving others. Does that describe you? 833-283-1037. 288-3986.
Dr. Greg Popcak.
We want listeners to see that God has a unique and unrepeatable plan for their lives and how to rejoice in the work God is doing in their hearts and in their homes.
The leading Catholic voices are on EWTN Radio.
The EWTN home video highlight for July is The Heresies, Gnosticism. Christianity has fought against this heresy from the beginning, and its errors still infiltrate our culture today. Order your DVD of The Heresies, Gnosticism at EWTNRC.com, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, or call 1-800-854-6316.
The Reason for Our Hope with Father Larry Richards.
Once someone's died, you remember explicitly what that person said to you. Now, so we go back and we start off with King David. Now, King David is a good man to begin with because King David, the word David means beloved of God. God says of David, he is a man after my own heart. But you all know David, right? He was a murderer. And yet God said he was a man after his own heart because David kept getting up and trying, repenting. We have the beautiful Psalms. God have mercy on me, coming from David, So he knew what it was to be a man. And so here's King David, and he takes his son Solomon. The last words of wisdom he gives him. 1 Kings chapter 2, verse 2. He says, I am going the way of all mankind. So, take courage and be a man.
Hi, this is Janet Williams. We embrace the essence of feminine spirituality on Women of Grace tomorrow at 11 a.m. Eastern here on EWTN Radio. Now, back to Take Two with Jerry and
This is your show, and you are coming through big again today. A lot of calls to get to here momentarily on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie on this Feast of St. Martha. And we're talking about if you have a servant's heart, how have you been blessed by giving? What are some of the ways, especially during the pandemic, that you've been finding opportunities to reach out to those in need? Maybe you've been on the receiving end of someone else's kindness. We're talking about this today on Take Two at 833-288-3986. And right before the short pause there, we were talking about how many of us who want to give or do for others, sometimes if we say to other people, no, you don't have to do that, we are in a sense depriving other people of an opportunity to get graces in their lives. And Barbara called in; she couldn't hold on the line, but she says something right along those lines, Debbie. She says it lets others have the chance to be holy. I think that's beautiful.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Barbara, so very much for weighing in on this discussion. And now, Jerry, we're moving on. Help me out with this wonderful person's first name.
Well, I said going into the break, Nermeen in Florida, listening on Sirius XM 130 and a first-time caller. Please correct us if we got your name incorrect, and I apologize if we did. Is it Nermeen?
Yes, it is Nermeen.
Okay, Nermeeni. Okay, welcome.
Hi, Nermeeni.
No, Nermeen. Thank you.
Oh, Nermeen. Okay.
Good.
Good.
Thank
So
you
glad
so
you
much.
called. Yeah.
As I was listening to your program, I was inspired to call in because it discussed, are you a Martha or are you a Mary? And I always thought I was a Martha, but it wasn't until I really realized that you can't really be a Martha unless you have the substance of a Mary. And sitting at the feet of the Blessed Sacrament of Jesus and really being filled, truly being filled, then you can truly be a Martha the way you are supposed to be a Martha. And that is what had happened to me a few years ago through doing my Marian consecration and through slowly being revealed things. I had an opportunity for God to touch my heart. And what I saw when I was in a remote part of Africa is that people were dying of thirst and hunger, but most of all that they had no hope, that they couldn't get out of this cycle, and they saw no way to get out of dying of thirst and dying of hunger. So God touched my heart, and through many, many hours of being a Mary, it inspired me to be a Martha, and through that I founded an organization called Water for Mercy.org, and we are partnered with Don Bosco Institutes in Africa, which entails 102 technical vocational schools in 36 African countries, and I'm partnered with 2 optimal Israeli NGOs, non-government technologies. We are providing water as well as agriculture, and with Don Bosco, an economic opportunity for the locals to flourish by growing agriculture for not just to eat well, but to make a lot of money and be economically independent and to be able to compete in the world market with trade. So in less than 2 years, this is how God works, being Mary. You have to be a Mary. And unless you're a Mary, you can't really be a Martha the way God wants you to be a Martha. And this is how I know my being a Martha really is truly God's working, because with this optimal partnership, it's revolutionary. We are now starting to get attention from governments, both on the local levels in Africa as well as the embassies that are now wanting to partner, because what they've realized is the African agriculture, the reason why everybody's dying of nutrition and thirst and hunger there is that the food there has all been built on sand. And what we're doing with God's chosen people, the Israeli technology, is that we are building their agriculture and food on solid ground. So basically that is the optimal solution, but you can't do it unless you are at the foot of Jesus to really be a Mary. And, you guys have been on the radio much longer than of course, I never have. This is the first time I've called in, but you must know she's adorable. She's in my hometown. I'm in the Clearwater area of Florida. Her name is Sister Brige McKenna. Oh, she's amazing. I've listened to every single one of her CDs, and I'll never forget this one CD that she said that, how are you going to differentiate yourself between being a social worker versus doing the will of God? We are not social workers. We are really bringing.
Well, Nermeen, let me comment on a couple things before they slip my mind here. This is revolutionary. This is changing countless people's lives in a very, very impactful way. And I was taking some notes as you were talking, and I see you actually mentioned a few of the things that I was going to comment on, and that is we need to be filled up before we go out and serve others. It's like prayer is the fuel in the tank that enables us to do that. I think it makes all the difference in the world, whether we're praying or not praying, and then going out and being Martha. And like you said, being Mary is how we learn what Jesus is calling us to do as Marthas. And you quite possibly wouldn't have heard that sublime, big calling that you have pursued without sitting at the feet of Jesus first, Nermeen. So, Debbie, I think she's making some really right on points.
Absolutely. And great ministry work you are doing. And that's just so amazing how God works. But that's so very true, because it's what we talked about at the beginning when we introduced the topic, Jerry. You'll definitely agree with this, because you are very, very dedicated and devoted to adoration. And in going and dedicating an hour a day, sitting in front of Jesus in the Blessed Sacrament, okay, what is happening? You are filling yourself. You are connecting. You are absolutely opening up, I believe, all those graces and blessings and the direct connection, the channel that you have to God. And it's a beautiful thing. And a lot of people say, well, is that time well spent? I think so. You are filling up the spiritual reservoirs, if you will, and it's helping you to discern what's next on the mission, on the journey. And that's important because we're all here for a purpose and a plan, right? And so you fill up the tanks, right? And then you bring that forth to the world because we're God's hands and feet here on earth. And so I think there's time. That's why I said at the beginning, Jerry, and tell me if I said it correctly. There's a precious, important time to be Mary, a time to be Martha, and a time to know when to go back and forth, because as you spiritually mature, you can discern in a little bit more of a quicker fashion, if you will, to move between the two. What do you say, Nermeen and Jerry?
Well, I would say, yeah. I mean, look at Jesus. He was he was like us in all things but sin. And how many times did Jesus withdraw and pray? So even Jesus himself, the Son of God, the divine Savior of the world, co-creator of the world, needed that quiet time in his human nature. He needed that quiet time, that time away to commune with his Father. Mm-hmm. And not that he needed that especially to know his mission, but really to be fortified. You know, we even see in the Garden of Gethsemane, you know, when angels came and ministered to Jesus. So, yeah, if we have the example of our Lord, Debbie, then that's a good enough example for me.
Absolutely. Well, God bless you, Nermeen. Thank you so much for gracing this conversation. We so appreciate it. I think it helps all of us to really frame it properly, to know what God wants from us. Right, Jerry?
Yeah. And we got a ton of callers here, Nermeen, so we're going to go, but we're going to be praying for that project of yours. It sounds absolutely remarkable, and we'd love to be kept informed and updated if you're so inclined. You can always email us at take2@EWTN.com. Joanne is next in Rochester, New York, listening on the iCatholic radio app, and another first-time caller to Take Two. Hi, Joanne.
Hello, how are you doing today, both of you? You sound so wonderful. I'm enjoying the program.
Oh, thank you, Joanne.
I wanted to call to tell you about a lovely person who I loved and admired throughout my whole life, and her name was Martha, and she was my mother. And truly speaking of how you tell me that Mary, she sat at the foot of Jesus and listened. Well, my mother sat every day for an hour, and she would commune and pray and talk to Jesus. And then she would go out, and she worked and took care of the elderly for as long as I can remember. She always took care of the elderly. The neighbors who needed anything, she was always there for them. And as I said, every day she prayed for every single one of us in the family, and we're an Italian family, so she had a lot of people to remember. And, I myself was hoping that one day, I tried to follow her example because she was such a fine example. She lived to be the age of 99, and throughout her life, my mother was a true Martha. And she was, and actually, she had some part of Mary in her, too, because her birthday is on August the 15th, which is the Feast of the Assumption. So she was right in her realm. My mother loved the Lord. She practiced what the Lord taught, and like her daughter, I'm hoping that one day I can follow truly in her path. I'm getting there, but it's taking time now. I'm getting a little older now, and like you were saying, you have a hard time receiving things and gifts from others. And as you get older in life, you do realize that others do want to help you, and I've been so graciously blessed by many, many who have helped me, because now in some way I need help because as I said, I'm older now and I have a little bit of illness here and there, but along the way and along the path of my life, I've been inspired, especially by my mom, and I've been so grateful for those who have helped me. And I think, like the lady before me who said, you need to be a little bit of a Mary to become a Martha. And it's true. It is true. Well,
it sure is. And, as I'm talking here, I'm thinking, what Mary was doing in in that story in the Gospel of Luke is what Mary was, while Martha was busy about serving and so forth, Martha was doing good things. She was tending to her Lord. She wanted his experience to be a blessed one, and she wanted to serve him. Mary, in essence, you could almost say that she was doing an early form of Eucharistic adoration. I love the way that you said your mother spent that hour every day. And what Mary in that story in the Bible, and what Mary was doing there, she was sitting at the feet of Jesus. Isn't that what we do in Eucharistic adoration?
Yep.
You know,
that's why I brought that up about adoration. It's time well spent. It really is. People don't realize that it's gonna last for eternity, and it's very important. Thank you for bringing that to our attention, Joanne, and your mom, Martha. Beautiful, beautiful mom, and you're a beautiful soul yourself. And thank you so much. I love your laugh, your giggle. It's absolutely precious. Hold on to that.
I will. I enjoy life, and I'm living it to the fullest. And one day I hope to see everyone again.
Amen.
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 All right, Joanne.
Right.
Thank you very much.
Back there, the lady. You better take care of yourself.
Thank you. Thank you. I will. I'm going to try really hard. Yeah.
You know, an insight that just came to me, Debbie, and that is, we must let other people do things for us. We must, because if we have difficulty doing that, if we won't let other people in, what does that mean? Jesus wants to do for us. Jesus has done marvelous things for us. If we're going to receive what he has for us, a good way to, kind of practice that is by allowing other people, because sometimes it is through those other people that Jesus wants to do these things for us. So
that's exactly right. Yeah. To receive mercy. We remember one of the biggest offenses to the Holy Spirit is denying receiving or rejecting receiving mercy, right? Have you ever read about that? I've read a lot about that. That's a big offense.
It is. Yeah, absolutely.
So we do have to practice the art of receiving well and allowing others to be that Christ to us. Thank you again, Joanne. This is a great conversation. I've changed immensely in just 45 minutes. That's amazing.
Well, that's what the Take Two family does each and every day. And if you just joined us on the program, we are talking about today is the Feast of St. Martha. And you know the story in the Bible in Luke chapter 10, where Martha and Mary are there with Jesus. They have him into their home. And Mary is the one sitting at the feet of Jesus, learning from him, listening to his teaching. And Martha is the one who's scurrying about the house, probably getting lunch or dinner ready or something like that. And Martha says, tell my sister to help me. And Jesus says she's chosen the better part of the good portion. And so there's hopefully a little bit of each of them in us. But we're really focusing on Martha today and how we are called by God to serve others. We love hearing your stories about this, how you get involved and really are the hands and feet of Jesus, as Debbie said before. Maybe your ability to serve others has been hindered by the reality of the pandemic. Me personally, Debbie, I've been a volunteer chaplain's assistant at a hospital, as you know, and it's been months and months now since we've been able to go and take communion to the patients and pray with them and talk with them and minister to them. So that's a direct impact of the coronavirus pandemic on one of the ways in which I felt God was calling me to serve others. So maybe there are other people who have been kind of cut off from their serving of others because of the pandemic as well.
Yeah, that's got to be hard on you, but I'm sure you're taking all those folks that you haven't met yet to adoration as you do your hourly.
For sure.
Yeah. And God knows that he'll be able to apply that, right? So, Jerry, did you share the highlight from EWTN? I couldn't remember. I'm sorry. Please forgive me. It's the back pain medication.
I just want to mention. Overcoming the Evil Within by Father Wade Menezes reflects on the reality, nature, and horror of sin, what fear of the Lord really means, the 4 consequences of every sinful act, how to hear God's voice in your life and respond to his call, plus daily prayers to help you on your journey to sainthood. Available now at EWTNRC.com. It's Overcoming the Evil Within by Father Wade Menezes. You can buy Catholic, shop EWTNRC.com.
Mm-hmm. And just for the record, Jerry, as you know, I always do I always do natural stuff first before I go to the doctor. That's just that's just the way I conduct myself. Yeah, so pray for me, folks. Ice is working. It's working. Ice is a good thing.
Good.
Thank you. Okay, Missy is up next, and Missy's in Connecticut, Sirius XM 130. First time caller. We're giving you the virtual bell, Missy. Welcome.
Thank you.
Hi, Missy.
So I wanted to call in because I am definitely identify with Martha. And whenever I read this passage in the Bible, I think I've always felt guilty that I couldn't drop everything and be Mary. And I really felt that your statement early on that, Martha didn't do anything wrong. In fact, she is a saint, was an encouragement that I think people need to really hear, because some of us truly have a servant's heart. And I do take time to pray quietly, and be still in the morning. But I run outreach for my church and for my work, and I feel I am someone who I've always had a very strong work ethic. So I work very hard at my job, and on my day off, which is today, I've spent all morning running around to get little treats for my family to encourage them in the pandemic, and it brings me joy to serve. But there are times when I have felt guilty when reading this passage, thinking that I should be able to drop it all. But then I really think an important point for people to know and to think about is we're all called to be and serve in different ways. And however God calls us, it's not necessarily wrong. And, I am a servant, but I pray all day long while I'm working, and it is something that is a part of how I express my faith. But the guilt that I feel at times not being a Mary, or not understanding that it's okay to be who I am and how God made me, so I thought that's an encouragement I think some people who are very strong Marthas like myself need to hear. And that's why I felt compelled to call in.
Well, I know Debbie and I are both blessed that you did call in, and we want to thank you for listening to the program and being a first-time caller, Missy. And I was just feverishly taking notes as you were talking, because I remember the saying of I think it was St. Augustine, who said, "To sing is to pray twice." And I thought about that, and I went, well, if to sing is to pray twice, then to serve others must also be very, very blessed. The Lord must be very, very pleased with that. And I think we can be Mary at the same time that we're being Martha, because St. Paul says in, I think it's 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, he talks about pray without ceasing. And I think we can meditate on that and ask, what does that mean? It means, I'm sure, certainly we take that dedicated time of quiet prayer, but also we take that spirit of prayer into everything that we're doing. So while we're serving, it's not that we're not praying. Every action, every time that we serve others can be made into a prayer for God. What do you think, Debbie?
Yeah, I completely agree with that. But Missy, I want to take Jerry, if we can we take a little chance here, if we can? Missy, Chrissy is right behind you in Green Lake, New York. And based on her comment, she has something about what happens when you are very much a Martha, what can happen. So how's the best way to do this, Jerry? Can Missy drop off and listen real quickly to Chrissy? Is that the best way?
Yeah, I suppose so. We are running out of time, so if you want to do that.
So real quickly, Missy, if you can drop off and let's hear what Chrissy has to say real quickly. Chrissy, let's take it to you in Green Lake. Do you have a message here of what Missy was saying? It sounds like it from your comment.
Well, I would say that I was a Martha, very much so. And at times in our lives we're Martha and Marys. And I was the definition of a Martha, trying to make everybody happy, to serve everybody. Everyone had to be happy for me to be happy. And I just was it took up all my time, and I ended up getting a lot of resentment from it. And in the story of Martha and Mary, Mary took the time at the feet of Jesus, and Martha got resentful. And I found myself getting very resentful. And that's actually what brought me to my conversion was, you're just so empty when you just give, and don't take time for the Lord. And after I had my conversion, the Lord used my sense of hospitality and doing things for others. I'm a registered nurse, and I'm out of breath because I'm walking. I was a registered nurse, and I worked in a cardiac cath lab, and people were very scared before and after the procedure. And I would get up early and spend that 45 minutes in prayer in the prayer room at the hospital, and I would pray, Jesus, let my hands and my feet be yours. Let them look into my face and see your face, Jesus. And that's what I focused my work on. And then an opportunity came to me for a Catholic ministry in the renewal, a Catholic women's ministry called Magnificat. And it's where they have a breakfast and a speaker and prayer music. And they had individual tables that people would sit at. And my hospitality was used in that way to not necessarily cook, clean, but to be the face of Jesus for the women in the hopes of a deeper conversion for them, that they would see the love of Jesus in what I did. So, he brought me to be a Mary in my work beforehand, and then I was able to work or ministry, do the Martha.
Right. Beautiful. Well said, Chrissy. That's why I wanted Missy to be able to hear you, and I wasn't sure if she could hear you if she was on air. So hopefully she's listening now, or she can go back and listen to what you had to say. I think it's really, just from a practical standpoint, I think all of us, we naturally are drawn to a certain type of disposition and the way we conduct ourselves in this world, right? And we get very good at it, and it feeds us, it fuels us, right? But I also think too there is that time when we should intentionally spend time developing the other sides of our spirituality that can help to better shape the overall mission of what God has intended for each and every individual. So you know what I'm going with this, Jerry? Sometimes people get so used to, and I do it too. I feel I'm good at certain things. I think I'm probably, in my opinion, I'm one of the best at it because I've perfected it, right? But we should also take that time to develop other areas that can help build our individual mission. I think it's an interesting dynamic, and something that if we spend a little time thinking about and seeing how we can incorporate it into our daily life, it can only enhance, I think, our journey. What do you think, Jerry?
Well, I think you're absolutely right, and I think, Chrissy, I love what you said about. I mean, this was a catalyst for your conversion. I mean, this is how powerful this was in your own life, and I'm glad that you shared that with us. And I know Debbie and I always encourage people to, tell others about what you share here on the radio. If you've got a story, please make sure that others hear about it. So thanks, Chrissy, for your call, and Missy, thank you again. And Wendy in Texas, listening on Guadalupe Radio, you can hear the music. We're going to be out here in about 45 seconds, but like you said, Debbie, I agree with you. This has been a fantastic conversation, as always, made possible by the Take Two family.
Yeah, it would have been a little bit better if some men called up. So it would have been maybe tomorrow. Okay, maybe tomorrow. Tomorrow, actually, we're going to be talking about if your marriage is, if you're struggling in your marriage, you feel alone in your relationship. We want to talk to you tomorrow, and that's on Take Two with Jerry and Debbie. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Jerry and Debbie Facebook, right, Jerry?
That is correct. And if you want to correspond, it's take2@EWTN.com. Thanks to the show team and the affiliates. God bless. Have a good day.